Today, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia hosts Night of Champions. Next year, Riyadh's going to be home to the first WrestleMania to leave North America. The incredible WWE fan base is set to once again prove they can put on a show like few can in Saudi. All week long, the atmosphere has been building. This global brand is already delivering the 17th international WWE event of this year. 8 different countries spanning 3 different continents. And the champ is ready. The undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes has arrived to Kingdom Arena, living up to his signature line. Easy to find, hard to beat. Today, a triple threat will test that. The ruler is here. Oba Femi is 1 win away from getting the crown as King of the Ring. The strut will hit Riyadh in just a couple hours. The worldwide sensation he's become. It's the countdown to Night of Champions.
It's all around us. Buried beneath the mountains. Carried through the oceans. And somehow, a trace of it exists in us too. Gold. Maybe that's why we chase it. Not because of what it is, but for what it represents. Glory. Purpose. The pursuit of something greater. For some, it's a chance to hold on.
I have this, and that means you never will.
High pressure, high stakes. This is where champions are made.
It's tippy time.
For others, it's a chance to break through.
The king and queen of the ring tournaments.
When you shoot, don't miss, because I will destroy you.
I am the face of this division, and all I'm missing is my crown.
The championship match at SummerSlam on the line.
As the pursuit of greatness continues,
Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's Night of Champions.
we find out what's beneath the surface.
This is Kingdom Arena. In recent years, it has been the sports palace of Riyadh. Today, it's where in-ring conquests can define careers. And the place is ready to yeet. Jey Uso has traveled far and taken direct orders from his tribal chief Roman Reigns. Win the King of the Ring and grab the other belt. The genius of the sky is ready to fly high in the desert night. Io Sky's been on a tear, making her way through difficult challenges. Now 1 win away from a title shot at SummerSlam. And arriving to fight for the undisputed championship is Sami Zayn. He has barged into the Cody and Gunther war and isn't going away. He fights for the biggest prize. And there is a prime Gunther, the ring general. He was irate over Sami's actions a week ago. A haluva kick he ate. That ended any hopes of claiming gold. Now, his chance comes by way of a triple threat. As we welcome you to the countdown of Night of Champions, Joe Tessitore alongside Peter Rosenberg and the former WWE champion, Big E. What makes today so special, E?
Tess, tonight is a night full of stakes. It's our last premium live event before the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam. So we're going to see potential future world champions crowned here tonight.
And this road to King and Queen of the Ring has been crazy. You have not been able to call one thing to the next. Who will get it? And finally tonight, we'll find out who our King and Queen will be.
Yeah, that unpredictable path has delivered this card. Let's show you what you're in store for. Remember, we're going to be with you for the next 2 hours here on ESPN. Then, at 1 p.m. Eastern, it all gets underway, and it does so with Oba Femi against Jey Uso. The King of the Ring finals, followed by the Queen of the Ring finals. That first hour's on ESPN. The entire day comes your way on the ESPN app. We encourage you to go to the ESPN app and just lock it in all day long. Now, let's say hello to the men who will bring you all the action from Kingdom Arena as we are joined by Michael Cole and Corey Graves. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey, Tess, I'll tell you, it's warm outside, 112 degrees. However, Corey and I are in this air-conditioned arena here tonight as we get set for Night of Champions. It is going to be an unbelievable night with an incredible main event for the unified WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes defends in a triple threat match against both Gunther and Sami Zayn, and there's no champion's advantage tonight for Cody.
We know Cody and Gunther have plenty of history predating Clash in Italy, but if the American Nightmare or the Ring General make the mistake of looking past the X Factor, that being Sami Zayn, Saudi Arabia could be the site of one of the most shocking upsets in WWE history. Cody, be careful.
It's going to be an incredible atmosphere tonight. We are expecting over 18,000 fans. We are sold out here in Riyadh, and we'll kick off the festivities on ESPN with the King of the Ring tournament finals. Obafemi versus main event Jey Uso. And the question everyone is asking, Corey, does Jey Uso have a chance tonight?
In a word, absolutely Jey Uso has a chance. This is main event Jey Uso we're talking about. The same man who 2 years ago marched into WrestleMania and did the unthinkable. He was able to topple Gunther to become World Heavyweight champion. This could all boil down to big match experience, where Jey actually has the advantage over Oba. Do not bet against Jey Uso.
Tonight, we will crown the 25th King of the Ring. Corey and I will be back later on in the Countdown Show, but for now, let's go back to you guys.
And of course, Michael, that comes with a title shot at SummerSlam. Well, let's discuss Jey Uso and how he arrived at this point. The fatal four-way in the first round took advantage of what happened with LA Knight, the Samoan spike by Solo Sikoa, and then a really grueling semifinal win when he defeated Javon Evans. This thing was one of those nights where he was truly pushed to the limit. The same could not be said for Obafemi. Obafemi, who, as you know, has been on this incredible tear of destruction. He advanced, winning a first-round fatal four-way by way of defeating Penta, Solo Sikoa, and Carmelo Hayes. Then, in the semifinal on June 15th against Raw, it doesn't matter if Judgment Day gets involved.
No.
Not with Obafemi. This is exactly what you expect, and Big E, he delivered on expectations.
We talk about Obafemi time and time again. This man is a physical force. You talk about bigger, faster, stronger. That is Obafemi, and that is what Jey Uso. Look, he is a former world champion. Let's not discredit him, but he's up against King Kong. This man is Godzilla.
It's crazy because now that we've added the fatal four-ways to part of the King and the Queen of the Ring, a certain amount of luck is almost necessary to get through. For everyone except, as you put it, Tess, Obafemi. The guy doesn't matter. Judgment Day shows up. It doesn't matter. And I know it may sound like to people watching right now on ESPN who are just getting familiar with Obafemi, like there's too many superlatives. We really can't give enough to the level of athlete this man is.
Corey brought up the experience edge with Jey. How much does that factor in?
It definitely matters. Look, Jey Uso is someone who has been in the ring with all the greats, with everyone from the previous generation, everyone from his generation as well. So Jey Uso has seen it all. But I don't think he has ever quite seen a force like Obafemi, and that is the difference. How do you overcome that physicality? I think Oba, his athleticism, his strength, his speed, I think will be enough to overcome Jey's experience.
Let me throw this in, though, and let's not lie. Graves, Jey Uso is fantastic. I hear what Graves is saying. But let's be clear. With everything Jey Uso has done in his illustrious career, if he beats Obafemi in King of the Ring, that may be his breaking the Undertaker's streak moment.
You're talking about a guy who won at WrestleMania, who won gold at WrestleMania.
Who beat Gunther, choked him out to get the title. But I think if you beat Obafemi at this stage in his career at King of the Ring, that's a real thing, a marker for Jey Uso's career forever.
Well, let's remind you how we arrived out here. The brackets for King of the Ring. Remember, this was the group that was put together. We revealed it at Clash of Italy. Everybody had their thoughts as to how it would go. The winner today of this tournament goes to SummerSlam for a title shot. Now, on the Queen of the Ring side, all eyes, of course, always on Io Sky and everything she's been able to accomplish. She advanced in the semifinals, defeating Roxanne Perez, Julia, and Lash Legend, and then the semifinal victory came against Raquel Rodriguez.
Look, Io Sky, time and time again, you talk about the greatest performer, male or female, in WWE. I truly believe that's Io Sky.
Yeah, if you talk to WWE superstars, she seems like every superstar's favorite superstar because of just how great she is in the ring.
and then Liv Morgan. And people say, hey, Liv Morgan, remember, she was with us when they revealed the brackets, and she looked at this thing and she said, eyes are on being a double-double, champ.
Yeah, you got to give credit where credit is due. Listen, Liv spends a lot of time doing things like that, laughing in people's faces, being an absolute villain in life. But you got to give her credit, E. She wanted the smoke, and she's gotten after it.
Well, I think a lot of people couldn't understand, why is a world champion in this tournament for an opportunity to potentially face a world champion? Well, Liv Morgan can walk potentially out of SummerSlam as a double world champion. You want to talk about legacy cementing? That would be it.
Haven't had one since Becky Lynch 7 years ago. Recently, Liv Morgan sat down with our Jackie Redmond.
Liv Morgan, what a year 2026 has been for you. You're a Royal Rumble winner. You defeat Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Championship. And now you're in the final of the Queen of the Ring tournament. You have accomplished quite literally more in the last 5 months than some people accomplish their entire career. How do you do it?
This is a lifetime of work that I put in. It's been 12 years in the making, and I'm finally able to reap the fruit of my labors. This was not an overnight success. This was me adjusting, adapting, changing, and making sure that I am better than every other woman in this locker room.
I want to ask you about the current Judgment Day. It's looked different over the years.
Yeah, the Judgment Day is a united front. We are a family. A success for one is a success for all in the Judgment Day.
Well, I think what the critics would say, you enter something like Queen of the Ring, you're already a champion, right?
Yeah.
And it's a tournament that Raquel and Roxanne were also in. Was it hard for you to sort of maybe have to face them? But were you worried about that?
No.
Were you happy that they kind of,
was I
you
happy
got
that
further than them?
No. Why would I be happy that I advanced and my girls, Roxanne and Raquel, didn't? Like I said, a win for one is a win for all. I would have loved to face Roxanne. I would have loved to face Raquel, but that's just not the way the hand was dealt.
Well, Liv, if you are successful and become Queen of the Ring in Riyadh,
when I become successful,
sure, I like
and win
the confidence.
Queen of the Ring
Listen,
in Riyadh.
Champs have to be confident. I get it. That potentially puts you face to face with someone that you have a ton of history with in Rhea Ripley. Was that at all a motivating factor for you to get into this tournament in the first place?
No. I'm not unaware of how great Rhea is. But the fact of the matter is, I've beaten Rhea at SummerSlam. I've taken her title, and I'm so excited to do it again. But why I did have to enter the Queen of the Ring tournament, Jackie, is because none of the girls on Raw wanted to challenge me. These girls are scared of me, but they're not dumb. So I had to actively seek out to be in this tournament so that I could prove to anyone that doubts me that I am the greatest, period.
One superstar that didn't seem afraid of you on Monday was Io Sky. In fact, she said, just quoting her here, that the crown might not fit on your head.
Do you know what I think about that? I think that Io is scared of my confidence. I've faced Io before, and she's never been able to beat me one-on-one. And so I'm walking in to Queen of the Ring very confident. I'm not taking her lightly. Io is one of the greatest competitors that we have, but like I've said, she's never beaten me one-on-one, and that's not going to start at Queen of the Ring.
Well, confidence is not lost with Liv Morgan. Listen, reason to be confident with the results she has had against Io Sky, Big E. You go back to December of 2024, Saturday night's main event, comes up with a win. You go back to last year, Elimination Chamber qualify, comes up with a win. How much does the past play into the present?
I think it is going to be a factor. And look, Liv's biggest rival, Rhea Ripley, has had the opposite record against Io Sky. So I'm sure that also is a leg up for Liv Morgan. And you mentioned Liv's confidence. I think that is her superpower. Her confidence, her ability to see every match she's in as a victory, I think that's what really separates her. I think if we're just going to look at physical talent and experience, I would give the edge to Io. But I think Liv is going to be coming in riding high. And look, the Judgment Day, when it comes to Liv Morgan, is always a potential factor when it comes to interfering. So we'll see if they play into this match here tonight.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's made Liv and Dom such a perfect sort of fit is the way they're so even-keeled. Both can seem crazy with the things they say and how they act, but in terms of their nerves going into big moments, even Steven. Like everyone used to say that about Eli Manning. You can't tell whether he throws an interception or a touchdown. Same reaction every time. Liv is very even about these moments, and you're right, her confidence is her power. However, in her saying Io Sky is scared of her confidence, I think she's being delusional. I do not think Io Sky is scared of Liv's confidence.
Yeah, reminder, Liv 2-0 against Io Sky. Byron Saxton has been monitoring this match backstage all morning long. Byron, how does Io feel about things?
Interestingly enough, Joe, I spoke to Io for a couple minutes last night, and I asked her how she feels about the fact that she never has defeated Liv Morgan in one-on-one competition, and her response was she doesn't worry about that. She does not lose sleep over the fact that she's never defeated Liv Morgan. Now, what she has focused on is adding more wrinkles to her offensive repertoire, specifically over the last week, coming up with multiple counters to Liv Morgan's finishing move, Oblivion. So while Io Sky is not concerned about the past losses, she does have a healthy respect for the threat of the Women's World Champion. Back to you guys.
So Io scouting the situation here to what we will see with the Queen of the Ring. Remember, that is coming your way in the first hour. The ability to counter Oblivion, will that play a role today? Still to come. It was the very event, King of the Ring, 30 years ago, delivered one of the most iconic phrases in sports entertainment. A look back at Austin 316. Plus, Sami Zayn has been wallowing in complaints of disrespect. Now that it could all change in one single moment. Is this finally the day it happens for Sami? And who will add their names to the history books? A king and queen to be determined. A SummerSlam championship match to be earned. Countdown to Night of Champions continues. Boy, here we are, already the 17th international show of 2026 in WWE. Of course, Riyadh will be home to next year's WrestleMania 43, and in just a couple hours, hosting Night of Champions as we continue to count down. Of course, WWE has had so much success with so many events in Saudi Arabia through the years.
Yeah, you talk about Crown Jewel back in 2018. It all started in 2014. And then, of course, you get to WWE Crown Jewel in 2019 as well, Big E. Momentous moments, title changes, a lot of history.
And that first women's match ever in Saudi Arabia was in October of 2019. And we cannot forget, of course, January of this year, 2026, the Royal Rumble, our first traditional Royal Rumble to take place outside of North America.
Yeah, maybe one of the best pyro displays you'll ever see, by the way. And now today, the undisputed WWE Championship has turned into a triple threat. Cody and Gunther, and then the great disruptor in recent weeks, Sami Zayn.
I want to be clear. I didn't ask for any of this. This was never my intention. This is never how I envisioned myself getting a WWE Championship opportunity against Cody Rhodes, of all people, who I considered a friend. They dragged me into something I wanted no part of. I never asked to get involved. I never asked to be the guest referee. I never asked to be in the middle of this, but here I am. And now I plan on taking full advantage of it, because WWE Championship opportunities like this don't come around too easily. آخر مرة كنا في السعودية وأنا صارعت مشهد الحزام خسرت. ما رح أخسر مرتين. هالمرة I'm walking out WWE champion.
Well, we asked the question earlier, is this finally the day for Sami Zayn? Look at all the opportunities he's had for a world championship.
And he's been chasing this world championship for so many years. Look, this man has had an illustrious career. He has dominated so much of the mid-card, but he has yet to truly break through to the very top, winning that first world championship. I think tonight could be his last opportunity.
Do not forget, Joe, Sami was a darling of the indies before he even came to WWE. Then he's had this whole incredible run. You know, for him, as someone who loves this business so much, it's not complete till he gets that world title.
Well, you can't help but think, too, he's also been a darling of the Middle East. There he is in that interview speaking Arabic. We've seen this in the past with him, where he gets an incredible reception with his ability to connect to the local fans. Does that play a factor today?
You know, I'm debating whether he is the all-out home favorite tonight. I think he will be. I think for all the things he's done over the last few weeks on SmackDown that have made many people boo him, I think it's going to be a rousing reception for Sami Zayn.
Wait, hold on. This is an interesting point, E, because it's not just a few weeks ago when we were in Europe, the way that the European fans took to Sami is much different than the way the U.S. fans. Now he's going to a place where he speaks the native language.
That's a great point, and I think he's been a bit frazzled by the reception that he's had in the U.S. You know, it's been very polarizing, but I think going to an environment where he is going to be the hometown favorite, I think can relax him. I think he'll be more comfortable going into this match, and that could be the edge that he needs to win here tonight.
What about the fact there's no champion's advantage anymore? Michael Cole brought this up. He's going to be calling the action for this triple threat. Triple threat, huge disadvantage to Cody Rhodes.
Oh, yeah, this is a problem. Anytime you are a champion in a triple threat match, you lose champion's advantage, you lose the odds. There's a better chance than not that Cody Rhodes leaves without the championship. I think the interesting piece here is all the drama about Sami and Cody allows this dangerous man, Gunther, to sort of lurk in the background.
And if I'm Sami, I'm not looking to take these two head on. I'm looking for my spots. I'm dipping out of the ring when those two are going at it. I'm looking for my openings. I think Sami's craftiness, his ring IQ, I think that'll be his edge here tonight.
Well, let's get into the Women's United States Championship match that's going to be coming your way. A storm is coming. Oh, she is ever the fashionista, isn't she?
She really is.
Jade Cargill, as she prepares for Tiffany Stratton. That is set right here on Night of Champions. Tiffany Stratton, who has earned the United States Championship. Jade Cargill, who, lost gold at WrestleMania, but has targeted Stratton, and she is out to get it today.
Stratton from the top rope. Prettiest moonsault ever.
I'm your new Women's
Tiffany, you strut around with that United States Championship trying to convince yourself you're on top of this division. But we've been down this road before, and we all know how this story ends.
Jade pinned the United States champion.
Jade, you think you can intimidate me? I'm a fighting champion, and unlike you, I didn't need two sidekicks standing behind me to get to where I am.
Queen of the Ring, first round.
You got involved in my business and took away my opportunity to become Queen of the Ring.
Tiffany out here bleeding up.
Now, I'm gonna take something from you. I will take that title away just as easily as I did the last. At Night of Champions, a storm is coming.
You're gonna find out that when the clouds clear, I'll be left standing as the true United States champion and prove that this division runs on Tiffy time.
Tiffany, tonight you are walking into the proverbial eye of the storm as you defend your United States Championship against Jade Cargill. How have you prepared for tonight's match?
When Jade beat me, I went away, I regrouped, I refocused, and I came back and I became the United States champion. Me and Jade have a lot of history, and that's a good thing, because tonight I'm going to be playing to her strengths and her weaknesses, and I'm going to walk out still your United States champion.
Well, that history between yourself and Jade also includes your last encounter, which I'm sure is top of mind for you because Jade defeated you in that match for the Women's Championship. How concerned are you that history could repeat itself?
I cannot lie, I am a little scared that that could happen again tonight. However, I was not 100% healthy back then. I'm walking in tonight 100% healthy, my knee is no longer shredded to pieces, and I'm going to beat Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill may know how to get her hands dirty, but I know how to win when it matters. And tonight, it matters most.
Tiffany, thank you for your time and good luck tonight. Joe, back to you.
Thank you very much, Byron. Appreciate that. Jade Cargill, of course, defeated Tiffany Stratton at Saturday night's main event at the end of 2025 to take that WWE Women's Championship. She also beat her down last night on SmackDown before this Night of Champions matchup they have here. Considering all that, mental edge, Jade Cargill?
I think that's a fair thing to say at this point. I think the way Jade has been operating recently with Michin and B-Fab, she sort of has her circle of trust that I think has worked well for her. But I will say something stood out that Tiffy said. She really did go back to the drawing board after losing to Jade Cargill. She went away for a little while. And I think since she's come back, she has a new edge. She is a better Tiffany Stratton now than I think she was as world champ.
And I think dropping that world championship to Jade Cargill, I felt like maybe her confidence took a little bit of a hit. And I think she needed that time to regroup and refigure out what she wanted to do and what direction her career was headed. And I really feel like this is really must win for both of these women. Agreed. If they expect to be on that card, you know, Tiffany's, her hometown, her home state is Minnesota. I believe like she truly wants to be on the SummerSlam card. And if that's going to happen, she needs to beat Jade tonight.
Yeah, August 1st and 2nd, SummerSlam will be in Minnesota. Listen, it's not that far away. And today we talk about this often. This is almost like the playoff championship to get to the ultimate one. If you think of WWE as having seasons, like the football season, consider this a conference championship day to get to the Super Bowl. SummerSlam, 2 days at an NFL stadium. And here's somebody who has come on the scene to this roster and says, I want to be in prime time in those spotlights too. Ricky Saints takes on Trick Williams today for the U.S. Championship.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Trick Williams!
Trick Williams is on top of the world right now.
This is Trick Yachty Gang, and I'm still the United States champion. Still Hollywood Trick. Still Mr. Lemon Pepper Stepper. Let me break it down for you. Trick Williams is the man now.
But he better shift his focus back to business because waiting at Night of Champions, absolute Ricky Saints. He's egotistical. He's a bit cocky. And he understands that he has to pull out all the stops in order to move up the pecking order here on Friday Night SmackDown.
You're a one-trick pony. How about this? Take your lemon pepper steppers and step your ass on out of... Congratulations, Ricky Saints, because I'm going to beat you down at Night of Champions. Then I'm going to high step into SummerSlam, rocking my lemon pepper steppers, and this United States Championship around my waist. Let's talk about it. Woo!
This is the revolution.
Trick, I don't think that you understand what's happening right now. You shouldn't be overlooking me. At Night of Champions, you're looking at the United States champion. That old Trick Williams hype train is gonna end, baby boy. A cheap shot by Saints. And Ricky Saints from behind.
Look, Ricky Saints, now you got our full undivided attention. Because only a sucker will sucker punch a man. At Night of Champions, you just earned yourself a tricky situation.
Well, let's bring the man himself into the conversation, the U.S. champion, Tricky 2 times, Trick Williams. The groom with Zoom. Congratulations on the nuptials, but let's get to the business of the day, and that is your mindset as you head into this title defense against Ricky Saints.
Man, I'm locked in, I'm focused. Yes, I just got married, but that's not gonna disturb nothing. I told y'all a long time ago, I want this title reign to go down in the history books. So Trick Williams can go down as one of the greatest United States champions of all time. Let's talk about it.
So on SmackDown last night, things escalated a little bit, and Ricky Saints put hands on your man, 50 grand, Lil Yachty. Does it add any level of extra animosity? Does it get any more personal because he now put hands on Yachty last night?
Yes, it does. You know, and the truth is, Yachty said it last night in the promo. We was looking straight past Ricky Saints. You know, we was looking at other things we could do to elevate the brand of SmackDown and elevate this title. But now, Ricky Saints, you got our attention. So that means I got to take care of business tonight and show you how Trick Willie gets down. And Yachty, he going to be there too. He going to get his back.
Everything has been coming up lately. All things Trick Williams. You've racked up win after win. It feels like you're everywhere as far as promotion and marketing. Is there any concern that you might be too confident, that you might be overlooking Ricky Saints?
Man, look, man, that's no way to approach the game. I mean, I had a friend that said they're going to stop smoking, and they got hit by a tobacco truck. You know, that just taught me a long time ago, you can't live in fear, you gotta live life to the fullest, and that's what Trick Williams does, live life to the fullest. Trick Williams is hot right now, so I'm gonna continue to stay hot till the day ain't hot no more. And I don't see that coming no time soon, Big E. Let's talk about it.
Trick Williams making his Night of Champions debut. Best of luck in your title defense, Trick.
Appreciate you, Joe.
Well, he does live life to the fullest, including last weekend having a lavish extravaganza of a wedding, marrying Lash legend. So the guy gets married in Jamaica. They have a big weekend. He's got to fly to the other side of the world to take on somebody like Ricky Saints. Does it play a role?
I was just trying to think about that. E, you have nuptials in your future. Can you imagine how big a day that is for you in your life? And I know how excited you are. Can you imagine if 6 days later you're in Saudi Arabia having a huge championship match?
No, this man has just been loading up his plate, but he's hungry. He wants it all. And that's what I love about Trick Williams. He really is in this phase of life and career where just everything is coming up, all things Trick. Everything, it just feels like he's winning in every avenue of life. And I think for him, I think he thrives on that. I think it's not a point where he's too busy, where he's taking on too much. I think he's spurred on by having all of that responsibility.
But you cannot. We talked about this earlier, and I know he said his mindset, he's 100% good. We cannot go to sleep on Ricky Saints.
No.
This guy, to me, the potential upside for Ricky Saints is through the roof, and Trick cannot get caught up thinking, oh, I'm having a moment, all will be good, and before you know it, you lose the title.
He's new to the SmackDown roster. He hasn't won a major title on the main roster of WWE. But he's not new to the industry. He is a veteran guy who has conquered a lot.
And it's like you took the words right out of my mouth. That was exactly my point. What I've been thinking about when I think about Ricky Saints is he has been in this business for a very long time. He has been through a lot of ups and downs. And I think when you have waited so long to get here, to get to the mountaintop, you know this opportunity could be your very last. So I think that Ricky is going to come, and he's approaching this match with that same hunger. I have worked so long to get here, I can't let this slip out of my hands.
For people who are new or just getting familiar with Ricky Saints and how talented he might be, his first night on SmackDown was interrupting Cody Rhodes with a mic in his hand. That's who Ricky Saints is. That's the audacity, the great audacity that he has.
And by the way, he gave Cody a hell of a match that night on SmackDown. Remember, Trick Williams, Ricky Saints, that is coming your way on the ESPN app later today on Night of Champions. And coming up next, a steel cage match. We'll be making highlights in a few hours. But what have been the greatest cage matches of all time? That's ahead. Don't go anywhere.
How does an event become an experience? This is how. This is why. This is WrestleMania. We know what it means to our country, but what could it mean to a kingdom? WrestleMania. For the first time ever, from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. A phenomenon so incredible, it would need to be experienced to be believed.
And today, right here on ESPN, you get a preview of just what the crowd is going to be like when WrestleMania 43 comes to the Kingdom next year. But today, it's Night of Champions from Kingdom Arena, and it comes your way at 1 o'clock Eastern right here on ESPN. And Seth Rollins is in a big one. Seth Rollins, who feels like so much of his career was taken away recently by the actions of Bron Breakker, is out for revenge. And he got a little bit on Monday night, costing the Vision the tag team championships.
This had to be so satisfying for Seth Rollins, knowing that the Vision cost him in the King of the Ring tournament.
And seeing that Seth Rollins has aligned himself with the Street Profits as of late, this felt fitting. And what a joy it has been to see the Street Profits back doing what they do, regaining tag team gold.
That was the moment on Raw when Austin Theory and Bron Breakker were unable to retain with a little helping hand from Seth Rollins for the Street Profits. And now, I mean, you want to elevate a PLE? Put Breakker and Seth in a steel cage as we look at their shared timeline recently.
Well, yeah, of course, that masked man showing up in Riyadh at the Royal Rumble, he sent this thing off the rails.
And we thought this thing was really building to WrestleMania. We thought that would be the blow-off, but it has continued to go on time and time again. Breakker getting the big win at Backlash, Rollins winning on Raw. Who wins here at Night of Champions?
Night of Champions coming your way, 1 o'clock Eastern, and a steel cage match tonight. Bron Breakker, Seth Rollins from Riyadh.
Seth Rollins, you made an entire career undermining and backstabbing everyone. And you want to play the victim in this story. You are a sheep in wolf's clothing. I destroyed your vision because you use deception to prey on other people around you for the glory of one man.
Seth freaking Rollins is never going to be ready to have a vision of victory over Bron Breakker.
Breakker, I brought you into my vision. The moment has arrived for me to right my wrongs.
King of the Ring, first round fatal four-way. Seth Rollins is going to advance. The Vision continues to haunt its creator.
I have to put an end to the Vision.
This is for the World Tag Team titles. The Vision defending against the Street Profits. Rollins is here. Seth Rollins screws Bron Breakker out of the tag titles.
At Night of Champions, Bron Breakker, Seth Rollins, steel cage.
Sometimes the easiest way out of a situation is to run through it.
Night of Champions, you will be locked inside of a steel cage with the most vicious and unbreakable superstar in all of WWE. No Heyman, no Vision, no hiding from who we are meant to be. In the end, the dog always makes it out.
Well, when you hear that quote, the easiest way to get out of a situation is to run through it. That is what Bron Breakker has done so well in his career, to run right through everybody, to generate this incredible speed that he possesses, and to spear somebody, the super spears. You brought it up the other day. I thought it was one of the best pieces of analysis I've heard going into a big match. The steel cage neutralizes that factor for Bron Breakker.
When we think of Bron, we think about that iconic run around the ring, that big spear, but he needs room. This man needs distance. That is his weapon. And now he's going to be confined in this cage. So I think that's really going to be a massive element of his game that is now off the table.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation where I believe, in spite of the age difference between these two guys, you add the steel cage, I think all of a sudden the balance of power shifts completely to the veteran Seth Rollins, who we know is absolutely deadly, undefeated in steel cages. This is a guy who will be better off in the confines of the cage. And you mentioned Braun tries to pick up speed. Let's say he hits the ropes a bunch, tries to get up to that 23 miles an hour. Seth gets out of the way. You're eating cage. It's a very dangerous proposition now for Braun Breaker.
You think about great steel cage matches. Seth Rollins has had some in recent years. There was the Madison Square Garden one, obviously, against Punk. You have experience in a steel cage. It's rare that the elite superstars have the experience. Braun Breaker's getting the experience now in a steel cage. How important is that?
Experience is everything in this industry. When you haven't done it, and Seth has done this thing time and time again, the number of steel cage matches that he has been in is really countless. It really changes the dynamic. It changes the situation of the ring. It changes what you can do out of the corners. And Seth knows how to make those adjustments. I think Braun is still going to have to figure all of that out in real time, and that sets him at a disadvantage.
Do you remember having those doubts before you stepped into the steel cage the very first time?
No, absolutely. And I've been in this industry for years and years without ever having a steel cage match, but it just your approach, when you're an in-ring veteran, when you've done this thing for a long time, you know where every patch of grass is, you know where the ring is, you know where the posts are. The cage changes that whole dynamic.
It all feels different, right? Because you now have to consider this thing that's around it. And also, you think about the advantages of Seth and Braun with their athleticism. Braun's is lateral, right? It's not that he can't go up, but really his advantage is in that lateral speed. I think of Seth Rollins, I think vertical. So the cage lends itself to the strengths that Seth Rollins has. But that said, we can wax poetic on Seth all day long. Braun Breaker is one of the most dangerous men in the business.
Remember, Braun Breaker, folks, NFL experience. This guy was a great offensive player. 23 miles an hour he has been clocked at running. That's kick returner level speed in the NFL. And you can see him today on the ESPN app in the steel cage against Seth Rollins. Peter, now let's get into what we're going to see in the Undisputed Championship match for the triple threat, because Gunther was red hot, boiling over with emotion a week ago.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and I think with good reason. He's felt screwed by everyone in this situation, and he thinks people are sleeping on him. You heard it last night on SmackDown. He's tired of all the yammering back and forth between Cody and Sami. What about the former champ, Gunther?
Gunther, of course, is on the short list in terms of best records in WWE in recent years. Except, when it comes to facing Cody Rhodes. Cody has actually beaten him twice.
Cody has the advantage, and I think we'll see if that plays in here tonight.
Coming your way here on ESPN.
I've been screwed out of being WWE champion twice. Ever since I arrived at SmackDown, I have been disrespected. I'm the greatest single acquisition this brand has ever made, and I shall be treated in the right way. Sami's talking about redemption. I need to redeem myself, because I'm gonna get payback for losing to Sami at WrestleMania. At Night of Champions, I will finally defeat Cody Rhodes and win what's rightfully mine, the WWE Championship.
Boy, it was just a few weeks ago, the three of us were sitting there in Turin, Italy, that massive crowd there for the Clash in Italy, and the controversy that followed based on that championship match when Cody Rhodes successfully defended against Gunther, but the controversial finish, Gunther had his foot under the bottom rope, and it just accelerated from there in terms of Gunther feeling he's screwed, he's disrespected, nothing's going his way when it comes to this.
And I think Gunther has a lot of gripes going into this match, even just the discourse. We talked about this a lot this week. The fact that we have spent so much time talking about Sami, and rightfully so, we've talked about Cody, our champion. It is hard to fathom that a man this dominant, we talk about Gunther, we talk about him retiring so many of the greatest to ever do it, we talk about that being his legacy, but yet when we talk about the narrative of this story, he is being lost time and time again. Let's not sleep on Gunther. Let's not sleep on this physical force who has run roughshod over the industry the last several years.
Yeah, I think for Gunther, he operates with a chip on his shoulder, as many people do, and with good reason, because people are not talking about him enough. The man retired Goldberg, retired Cena, retired AJ. Over and over again, he has shown you who he is, and yet, because of a result that he thinks was fraudulent, because his foot was under the rope, he has been denied that championship. And I think if you're Gunther, you're thinking, without this title, there's no one for me to retire. Who am I without this title?
And remember, this is a triple threat, so no champion's advantage for Cody Rhodes as we continue to count down here on the Night of Champions, 1 o'clock on ESPN. And like he has done so many times in recent years, Triple H has arrived in Saudi Arabia, ready to bring his unique matchmaking skills. We will hear from him what the big boss has to say tonight. Of course, this was the scene a month ago at Clash in Italy. Much more to come on the Undisputed Championship set to come your way. This was the scene when Sammy was the guest referee and things boiled over. What role does that play in terms of the emotion? We will have much more to come here on this countdown to Night of Champions, including what does Jey Uso really believe awaits in his King of the Ring final against Obafemi?
Gunther, nah. And if you want to ask me, Us, I'm above all those fools. I beat Seth as a world champ. I made Gunther tap. I'm about to smack Oba too.
We will hear from Jey Uso when we return to our countdown to Night of Champions.
If you could ask one question, what would you ask? Who will win today? Will it rain tomorrow? Will there be peace this year? Can we predict the future? The people who never stop asking are the ones who find answers.
WWE now a global sensation beyond anything the brand has known. Today in Saudi Arabia marks the 17th international show already this year. Third continent, 8th different country in 2026. Riyadh is going to host WrestleMania 43. Now it gets to show the world just why it earned it. The passionate fans of the kingdom set to roar for this Night of Champions. Cody Rhodes has arrived to the Kingdom Arena, understanding now it's going to be even tougher to defend. He's dealing with Gunther. That alone's a major task. But now the defense elevates to a triple threat with Sami Zayn. There is Gunther. His rage boiled over a week ago. He felt he's done enough to earn this undisputed championship. He snapped at the guest ref Sami Zayn. Now Zayn's in the ring as a rival. Yes, Sami Zayn, who lost the U.S. title at WrestleMania, spent weeks complaining, was down and out. Now he could be the champ atop the entire WWE. Sami is there at one of the biggest events of the year. Welcome to Night of Champions.
It's all around us. Buried beneath the mountains. Carried through the oceans. And somehow, a trace of it exists in us too. Gold. Maybe that's why we chase it. Not because of what it is, but for what it represents. Glory. Purpose. The pursuit of something greater. For some, it's a chance to hold on.
I have this, and that means you never will.
High pressure, high stakes. This is where champions are made.
It's Jiffy time.
For others, it's a chance to break through.
The king and queen of the ring tournaments.
When you shoot, don't miss, because I will destroy you.
I am the face of this division, and all I'm missing is my crown.
The championship match at SummerSlam on the line.
As the pursuit of greatness continues,
Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's Night of Champions.
we find out what's beneath the surface.
Kingdom Arena in Saudi Arabia. There it is. It is sold out, over 18,000 plus. Place was built for championships. Today, the very best from WWE take to Riyadh's hotspot. And maybe the hottest superstar of all this year, Obafemi. He has strutted his way into a far different stratosphere of fame. Can Obafemi deliver on expectations, become King of the Ring? We find out right away, 1 o'clock on ESPN. Or will Jey Uso deny him? Jay's been going it alone while the Bloodline watches on. If Jey wins today, he could bring home the other World Championship for his family. Many believe Io Sky is the most purely talented women's pro wrestler. Will that talent carry her right through to be Queen of the Ring? This is the card you will see starting at 1 o'clock Eastern right here on ESPN. Of course, the entire day of Night of Champions is available on the ESPN app. We encourage you to do that. And it will start off with Oba and Jay right in to Io Sky and Liv Morgan. As we are thrilled you're with us, Joe Tessitore, alongside Peter Rosenberg and Biggie, a man who knows what it's like to hold that WWE Championship. You can feel the anticipation growing.
No, this is a massive night. I just love that this night really is about the stakes, man. I think Obafemi, he is a guy I've had my eye on for quite some time. If he wins here tonight, potentially wins a world championship at SummerSlam. You talk about a true star making, a massive star making performance. Oba could start that here.
Yeah, that's why I get so excited about nights like tonight when I see a match and I can't quite picture the outcome, right? Oba versus Jay has so many different ways this could go that will reshape not only SummerSlam, but everything moving forward. And I feel the same way, of course, about our main event, the Triple Threat Championship match.
Michael Cole and Corey Graves are going to be on the call ringside from Kingdom Arena. Gentlemen, there is pressure today because it all funnels in to title shots at SummerSlam.
Yeah, Joe, you're right. Everything goes to Minnesota 5 weeks from tonight and the start of SummerSlam. We are inside the Kingdom Arena. Over 18,000 expected tonight. We are sold out. Now, the match is going to kick things off on the ESPN app with the unlimited plan portion of the show is going to be for the steel cage match between Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins as this rivalry finally reaches its final chapter.
Well, this is Seth's opportunity to finally destroy his creation, that being the Vision. But when I talked to Seth earlier this week, I saw something we don't often see in the eyes of the Visionary, that being doubt. It's safe to assume that Seth has the mental edge heading into this steel cage match, but the question is, does Seth Rollins still have the physical tools necessary to get past the genetic freak that is Braun Breaker?
You know, Seth told you in an interview earlier this week that he wants to put this chapter of his life behind him because he wants to move on to other things, including perhaps an opportunity at a world championship. Speaking of opportunities for world championships, first hour, ESPN, Queen of the Ring Finals. It is Io Sky, the genius of the sky, against the current world champion, Liv Morgan.
We may have history on our hands because never before has the reigning world champion won the Queen of the Ring tournament. And if Liv truly wants to show the entire WWE universe that she is who she says she is, the greatest women's world champion of all time.
Hey, but let's not forget.
I wasn't done.
Who she is going to step in the ring with. The woman who I have called the greatest professional wrestler on the planet today, the former world champion Io Sky. It is going to be a great one. The winner gets a world championship opportunity at SummerSlam. Corey and I will be heading down to ringside in a matter of moments to call all the action, but back to Tess.
Thank you very much, Michael. And of course, if Liv Morgan is able to win today in Queen of the Ring, which will be right after 1 o'clock on ESPN here at Night of Champions, she could go for history. She could go for that double-double, as we like to say, from Miss Trouble Trouble.
That would be massive for Liv Morgan. Look, not just a few years ago, Liv Morgan was not considered in this upper echelon, this upper tier of the women in WWE. The run she has had, the work she has put in to get here, she can really cement herself as the biggest name of this era. And that would mean everything to be over someone like a Becky Lynch, over Rhea Ripley. If she can become a double world champion, that sets you in a different stratosphere.
Do you really, you think she really would be that? Like, if she gets the double-double, and by the way, that would be a huge deal. Does she surpass Becky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley? I mean, it is rarefied air.
We have to really look at resumes. And look, Liv still has a lot of room left to go. Her time here is not done.
She's got runway.
She's got more room to go, but this really sets her apart.
And also, it begs the question, if Io were to win, does she turn around and say, hey, I just beat Liv, let me beat her again?
That's conventional wisdom, wouldn't it be? That she just says, now let's do the rematch for the belt.
Sure, but what did we say earlier about Rhea Ripley? She's never beaten Io Sky one-on-one. So does Io go, hey, Rhea's never been able to beat me?
Best of friends, former tag team partners.
But you have to think that Io's got to be so hungry. She was someone who was left off the WrestleMania card. Someone of her caliber did not have a match at WrestleMania. She has to be immensely hungry for an opportunity back at that spot.
100%.
That is Queen of the Ring. It's coming your way in the first hour here of Night of Champions, right here, live on ESPN. Now, as for what's going to start off the day, the guy who's been grabbing all the attention here in this calendar year, and that is Oba Femi, who tore through the fatal four-way first round. Tore through it. I mean, ragdolled Dirty Dom to advance to this King of the Ring finals.
The man is just a physical force. He is an athlete. You see him, whether guys are big, small, it doesn't matter. He has the strength to keep up with the powerhouses. He has the speed to keep up with the high flyers as well. I don't think we've seen anything quite like Oba Femi since the debut of Brock Lesnar.
He may be known one day as the first star of the ESPN era of WWE.
I think he already is.
We are watching him unfold, but We cannot go to sleep on a guy who has done it time and time again in Jey Uso.
This was a very different path, though, Peter.
A very different path, and obviously had to take advantage of every opportunity that comes up. He ends up getting a very game Javon Evans, again, takes advantage of the opportunity and follows his path all the way, and then the reward you get at the end is Oba Femi.
And what is on the line today is a chance to fight for a championship at SummerSlam. But can Jey Uso find a way past Oba Femi? He sat down with our Jackie Redmond.
Jey Uso, what a couple years it has been for you. I mean, Royal Rumble winner, World Heavyweight Champion, a 9th Tag Team Championship with your brother Jimmy. I mean, we've seen so many versions of you in the last handful of years. We've seen fun-loving, what is it, Run It Back?
Yeah.
Run It Back, Jey Uso. But we've also seen a serious, maybe even sometimes angry Jey Uso. So my first question for you is, who is Jey Uso right now?
Good question, Jackie O.
Who are you?
Jeez, man, I'm confused half the time. I think right now this version of me is me, the realest form. I think I'm the most authentic, realest on the roster.
Okay.
I really go out there, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm for my family, Yeats. At the end of the day, Jackie O, family first. With me, I'm bought up that way will never change me. No matter if I go Yee Man, no matter if I win 10 world titles. I'm always show up for my family.
Okay, so you reunite with the tribal chief, Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say it was a hierarchy in its original form. Is it still, or do you feel that you are a true equal to Roman Reigns?
I'm an equal. But in my culture, man, we respect the tribal chief. The elders are it. I don't think the outside world understand that. You know, they're just, he's going back to Roman Reigns, man. It's a family thing. It's a culture thing. Y'all ain't got nothing to do with it. Y'all ain't gonna understand it.
All right, King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Fresh opportunity for you. What would it mean for you to be King of the Ring?
I mean, Jackie, it sets me up to put me back in the title picture. They doubted me the first title. Now I'm back to possibly get another shot at it. I just want to silence some noise again, Jackie. I want to shock the world again.
But in order to go down this path, you have to beat one of the fastest rising stars in WWE today, a man that took out Brock Lesnar in Oba Femi. What do you make of Oba Femi?
Oba Femi is just another chapter in my book that I gotta rip out.
How do you prepare for a superstar with his size and strength? I mean, how are you preparing for that?
I don't, Jackie. Like, I do this. Man, I'm a general in the game. I mean, you got these little homies coming up. Oba's new, cool. Oba big as hell, cool. Man, I got heart, Jackie, yo. I'll step to anybody. I don't care. That's Jey Uso, man. Ain't no preparing. I go to war every week. They see it. I don't care. I'm prepared. I'm prepared.
So what's it gonna take then for you to leave this weekend King of the Ring?
I think one thing for me, for Jey Uso, and the one thing that's never left, the one thing that's always showed, man, straight heart, Jackie, yo. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, man, I am nervous. Every time I go against something big, man, it is, bro. I am nervous. Regardless of all that, you know, it's Oba Femi. But I'm telling you right now, Jackie, yo, next time I talk to you, dog, I will be WWE Undisputed Champion.
King of the Ring final, Oba Femi against Jey Uso. You listen to Jay's conversation there with Jackie Redmond, and you have to ask the question when you size up this match, is hard enough?
It's so fascinating to me. Jey Uso's been on the main roster for more than 15 years. Mm-hmm. Oba Femi's been a few months, half a year. And the reverence in which Jay talks about this man, and look, he talks about ripping him out of his book. He has some braggadocio as well, but I think he also understands the task ahead of him. He understands the physicality because we talk about experience. We talk about his time on the main roster. Jey Uso has seen it and done it all. But that level of athleticism, the force that is Oba Femi, the strength, the power, the speed, the intelligence, as well as a professional wrestler, that can overcome all of that experience gap.
That sit down with Jackie O to you and me, that really had me ready to run through a wall for Jay. Like, you really could sense how important this is for him. And he said one thing that I thought was incredibly interesting about wanting that second title run. He heard what people said. And we can go through the history books, guys, and we can see the people who had one title reign. And it's an incredible list of accomplished athletes, you being one of them. There's no question, E, something's different when you get that second title reign, especially if you deliver even better the second time.
Yeah, listen, and he had a great win against Gunther at WrestleMania. This is Obafemi just to get to the championship match. This is a mountain to climb today for Jey Uso. 1 o'clock Eastern right here on ESPN. Still to come on the countdown to Night of Champions. There have been amazing steel cage matches through the years. But what are the top 10 of all time? We reveal the top 10 list of steel cages in history ahead. Of course, there have been some classic quotes through the years too, but does anything top what happened 30 years ago at King of the Ring? The proper perspective on Austin 316 is coming your way. And look at our man Big E, working out with Bron Breakker. The exclusive interview is ahead.
How stupid does he have to be to lock himself in a steel cage with me? He ain't a killer. That's me. He ain't a killer.
Incredible week in Riyadh gets capped today. Well, the countdown says we're just over 43 minutes away from one of the most anticipated days of the WWE calendar. That is the magnificent Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Over 18,000 plus sold out. Cody Rhodes is going to be in the spotlight. This is third reign as undisputed WWE champion, and it comes in a triple threat today, defending against Gunther and Sami Zayn.
Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Night of Champions, myself the WWE champion against Big G Gunther and Sami Zayn. Gunther has never defeated. And Night of Champions, it will be no different. Sami Zayn playing the victim when in actuality Sami Zayn is just plain exhausted. And I no longer recognize him. The WWE champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, easy to find, hard to beat.
There is something about the way Cody even says the inflection on exhausting that sums up Sami Zayn's role in recent weeks.
Well, I wonder, is Cody himself exhausted? Not
You tell me.
Not just by Sami, but also that schedule. I think having to have when you're world champion, when you're WWE champion, it's the best. Every single week, you're getting the best. And having to grapple with Gunther and not being done with Gunther. You think you beat Gunther in Italy, you think it's over, but we have controversy, and you have to do this again. So I think for Cody, I think he finds Sami exhausting, this back and forth with Sami to be tiring, but I think being put in this position has also been a weight on Cody.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And E was talking to me about this yesterday. He came on Cheap Heat. We were talking about this. You were champion. And when you become champion, all of a sudden, there are a million cooks in the kitchen, because it's not just about you having matches. It's who's pressed this week. We need you to go do this. We need you to do that. There's a lot. And then on top of that, you're taking on the absolute best too. I think Sami Zayn's goal has been to tire out Cody Rhodes mentally. Was it effective? We'll find out tonight.
I think he's been doing a very good job of that in recent weeks, if you listen to everything that's gone down. That is coming your way, of course. No champion's advantage in a triple threat, so a compromise spot for Cody Rhodes. Braun Breaker, steel cage against Seth Rollins. Big E went one-on-one with Braun Breaker. Here's what was said.
Well. Braun, a pleasure, man. Against my better judgment, I've agreed to work out with you. Keep in mind, I am 40 years old, all right? Let's remember that,
We've all seen what he can do in the weight room.
A long time ago.
Nobody's even close to him, all right?
Stop it,
He's gonna
stop.
try to keep up today.
So, Braun, what are we getting into today?
We're gonna do a little arm day today. He's gonna embarrass me, because look at his arms. Look at this. He's a machine.
I like to superset a lot of stuff. I've found a lot of progress in training with on a timer. I'm not a gym socializer. Neither are you, obviously. Doing sets of 20, probably get 100 reps between both of these, just get the arms warmed up, move some weight around.
Already feeling it. So you have a big steel cage match coming up. Is there a way that you're preparing for this match that's different than other matches?
Trained to failure with this stuff. I feel like that's the only way to condition my mind to be as close to what's going to happen in the cage as possible. It's how far I'm willing to push my body and my mind to failure. What's going to be my breaking point? How far can I push myself? It says it on the back of my singlets. I'm unbreakable, man. It ain't going to happen. Seth is going to break.
So you beat Seth at Backlash a couple months ago, but you're still involved with Seth. Why?
After we beat him at Backlash, he could have walked away and moved on, but he just couldn't help it. No, we don't like each other. Like, we're not friends. We're not buddies. We don't see each other at work and say what's up. He ain't a killer. That's me. He ain't a killer. How stupid does he have to be to lock himself in a steel cage with me? Wrestling match is one thing because you have a strategy. You can have stuff up your sleeve. But in this case, I mean, you're walking in knowing what you're going to get. It's time to put Seth to bed. It's time to get back in a world title picture. It's time to move back up the ladder.
Do you feel like the steel cage limits you and your ability to move?
It definitely boxes us up a little bit, but it's not a situation that I haven't been in before. Obviously, Seth has been in this situation a million times, so he's probably feels good about his skill set and his experience at this, but you don't f me, especially not inside of a steel cage. That's it.
There is no tricep work left to be done. And also, I don't know why you wear a suit to work. Just go with that look anywhere you go in life. Listen, when you get that kind of one-on-one exclusive time with a superstar, an athlete like this, it hits different. What was your takeaway?
He's an absolute specimen. And he talked too about his training. You're not going to see a ton of heavyweights, though he can do that. He is someone who has really decided, look, volume, movement, because flexibility, his speed is really his weapon. He has designed his training to allow him to be the very best version of Bron Breakker.
And let's show you what is hanging high above Kingdom Arena, because what's happening today is that structure is going to get your attention. Remember, Night of Champions on the ESPN app is where you will see the steel cage match between Bron Breakker and Seth Rollins. Let's give you the top 10 steel cage matches of all time.
This one could maybe even be higher. You think of a young Peter Rosenberg. You know the excitement when not only was there Saturday night's main event, but Hogan's in a steel cage with the boss man on Saturday night's main event. Of course, the epic superplex as well. A classic moment.
And I love the old school blue cage from that era. I miss it so much.
And I love Slick, too.
At number 9, we have Lita versus Victoria, the first one-on-one women's cage match. Victoria pulling out the win. But these women, they really pulled out all the stops.
And how great was Victoria? We don't talk about her enough. Lita, obviously an absolute icon as well. At number 8, these guys have classics upon classics, but this was incredible. Judgment Day 2008, Triple H and Randy Orton, the student versus the teacher, and the teacher standing tall at the end.
Next, we have Cena versus the man himself, Bray Wyatt. I remember being in the locker room, watching this kid come out. It just gave us all chills singing to Cena as Bray hits Sister Abigail, steps out the cage for the win.
And of course, Joe Test was only 22 years old when this match happened. 1983.
Put a 1 next to it.
Snuka and Morocco. Test, there are people who entered the business because of this match.
To live in New York back then when that happened.
Next up at number 5, we have CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy. I love this feud so much. Those two were such bitter rivals. We have Jeff Hardy gets foiled at the end. CM Punk walks away with the victory in his world title.
And of course, you know I'm a Bret guy. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Against an underrated rival of Bret's in Kevin Nash, Diesel and Bret Hart, Undertaker through the cage. Classic moment back in '96.
We see Taker at the top celebrating his win. At number 3, we have Taker once again against Batista. Both feet, the controversy of both feet hitting the floor at the same time. Whose feet hit first?
Look at the
In the end, it was Taker who retained.
And of course, this is not recency bias. This was epic. You all know Becky Lynch loves me. She loves running into me. I'm going to give her flowers right now.
I don't know about that.
She had a horrible Italian vacation.
Becky and Trish put on an absolute masterpiece back at Payback in 2023 in the cage with the man standing tall.
And I know Tess takes some issue with this being our number 1 steel cage match of all time. But we have Roman Reigns.
They brought it.
Against Brock Lesnar. Boy, did they bring it. This thing was physical time and time again. We saw F5 after F5. Roman is able to escape, hit the Superman punch. In the end, I believe there is a massive spear to Brock Lesnar hitting the floor. But Brock hits the floor first.
That's right. That's right.
Those are your top 10 steel cage matches of all time. And of course, could we add to that list by what we see today on the ESPN app? Bron Breakker, Seth Rollins in a steel cage at Night of Champions. We are closing in on the start of Night of Champions in just over a half an hour, and Triple H has arrived at Kingdom Arena. Years ago, he won King of the Ring. Now, what does the Chief Content Officer think of this year's tourney finale? Triple H will join us in moments. And perhaps the most significant phrase ever spoken in sports entertainment was Austin 3:16, the greatest promo of all time.
If you thought WWE stopped when the show ends. Your mind is about to be blown. Club WWE, you'll gain access to premium content you can't see anywhere else. From behind-the-scenes moments to exclusive programming of your favorite superstars, Club WWE expands the horizon of the WWE Universe.
This is abysmal!
An entire network of premium content just for you, only on Club WWE.
Night of Champions this Saturday night at Kingdom Arena, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Please welcome back Triple H himself.
It's going to be a big night, and it's going to deliver all the way around with a lot of young talent coming to the forefront.
Trick Williams.
The copy is never as good as the original. Williams is the original.
Ricky Saints joining us.
Trick Williams. We're actually not even in the same category.
It's pretty cool to get out there on a premium live event in a steel cage and try to tear the house down.
King of the Ring final, Obafemi, Jey Uso. We're going to talk about Obafemi for the next 15 years. Jade Cargill.
Tiffany, she doesn't mind her business. She's in my way, and I need to make a point.
There's always fresh, there's always new, there's always something big happening. So even if you've missed out for a bit, you can jump right back in.
Great week of interviews and promotion leading up to what you're going to see here at the top of the hour on ESPN. Of course, everybody's still buzzing about the NBA championship earned by the New York Knicks, including Roman Reigns, the OTC, sending a signed belt to Knicks star Jalen Brunson. Maybe Danhausen could get involved on that a little bit. Some human monies. Kingdom Arena is going to be the focus of today. It is sold out. Look at this scene as the anticipation continues to grow. Less than a half an hour away, 18,000 plus at Kingdom Arena for Night of Champions. And the man who will be calling it all, the great Michael Cole.
Thanks a lot, guys. The King of the Ring tournament is about history. Tonight, we will crown the 25th King of the Ring tournament winner. And over the years, King of the Ring winners have gone on to be in the Hall of Fame, a dozen enshrined over the years. 11 would become world champions, and legends would be born. The King of the Ring finals are at the famous Mecca Arena in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. On one side of the ring stood the legendary Jake the Snake Roberts, who in his recent return had taken to preaching the word to his flock.
My soul was purchased by the blood of the Lamb. So how can I lose if I just go out there and know the power above is reaching down and lifting me up?
On the other, a rough and tough blue-collar Texan by the name of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Get up, Jake!
Roberts never stood a chance.
Stone Cold Stunner. It's over. This may be only the beginning for that young man.
After a quick victory to become King of the Ring, Stone Cold stepped up to the podium and delivered a promo that would revolutionize an industry and change the trajectory of Austin's life forever.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
I just kind of put that together in my head, and I didn't know what kind of moment that was. Next night we showed up, all of a sudden there's Austin 3:16 signs, and we realized there might be something here.
Next thing you know, there's an Austin 3:16 t-shirt. Immediately, they're selling out everywhere.
Many say this moment is what ushered in the Attitude Era. An era that saw WWE reclaim its greatness and annihilate WCW before eventually purchasing it just 5 years later. Austin 3:16 would go on to become one of, if not the most, iconic catchphrases in wrestling history. It would be quoted by athletes and celebrities around the globe.
Austin 3:16.
They don't compare it to Stone Cold.
I don't want to intimidate you before WrestleMania, but check this out.
It was as if everyone on the planet was wearing that signature black t-shirt. There is nothing quite like hearing that glass break. Nothing more exciting and euphoric than to experience that sensation firsthand.
Austin, opening a can of whoop ass!
WWE's forever indebted to the man who not only entertained us unimaginably, but saved an entire company as well with the power of Austin 3:16.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
I'll never forget that night. The legendary Stone Cold Steve Austin was born. Austin 3:16.
Hello, Michael Cole.
Why are you here?
Oh, well, I heard you talking about legends and Hall of Famers and champions, and that was Danhausen. So, I also heard you talking about the King of the Ring tournament, and I thought, what if Danhausen wins the King of the Ring tournament tonight?
Whoa, time out. The tournament ends tonight. You're actually not even in it.
Ah, crap. You're sure?
We can play a game, though.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
What would happen if Danhausen was actually in the King of the Ring tournament?
Oh, easy. I would have decimated, eviscerated, and annihilated Dom and Jay and SGT Slaughter and Luke and Butch, the Butchwhackers.
Okay. What about this guy?
What is that?
That's the ruler, Obafemi.
Yeah. Next question.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Final question. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
What if Danhausen would win King of the Ring? What would happen then?
Oh, well, I'd get one of those very nice crowns. One of those, yeah.
No. Oh, you can't touch it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd get one of those, put it on my head, get a nice new cape, glamorous cape. And then also, Danhausen would go around saying, Danhausen 3:16 says I just cursed your ass.
That's your cue to disappear.
Oh, yeah. Okay, see you later.
Paul, I know you're a busy man. We appreciate having a few minutes with you here tonight. Here we are, once again in Riyadh for the second year in a row, Night of Champions. What's the vibe you're feeling about tonight's event?
Well, it's incredible. Anytime we're here, in Riyadh, it's a phenomenal experience. But Kingdom Arena, sold out, 18,000 plus. They are going to be loud as they always are here. The excitement and levels off the charts. King and Queen of the Ring has become such an important thing in the last few years. So you see the importance of that for not only for up and coming talent as a way to break out and break through, but sort of for talent that have been here, another way to stamp their name, another way to get themselves in that mix as we head into SummerSlam. So Obafemi, Jey Uso tonight is going to be incredible. Oba is just this force of nature, and Jey, anytime you count him out, he shows you why he is the right-hand man. So that will be spectacular. Io Sky, Liv Morgan, you've got the women's champion going, uncharacteristically after the Queen of the Ring. I'm really looking forward to that one. It's going to be a huge night.
So as a former King of the Ring yourself, when you look at the opportunity in the King of the Ring finals and the Queen of the Ring finals, personally, how much does that accomplishment mean to you?
Well, look, it's all in what you do with it after, but the truth is that puts you on a platform to take off on a rocket from there, right? So you can look at it over the years from Bret Hart to Stone Cold Steve Austin, what it did for my career. There's so many people that it just launches them into another level or another stage of their career. I think that you're going to see that here tonight, and that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this this card, because you've got the storied rivalry here between Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, probably the final chapter in that. A very personal rivalry between the two, but taking place inside of a steel cage here. That's going to be off the chart. Trick Williams, Ricky Saints, I think is going to be epic. Trick, another guy, and Ricky Saints, two guys that come into this with so much charisma and so much hype around not just who they are as in-ring performers, but who they are as talent, that next level of a charismatic performer that you're going to be hearing people chant "whoop that trick" for years to come. It's going to be an epic night. There's so much, and again, getting into Cody and Gunther and Sami Zayn, which will be intense. Jade and Tiffany Stratton for the U.S. title. Such an epic night. Can't wait. This crowd's going to be insane. And like always, want to thank our hosts here in Riyadh, because there is no experience like it. Our talent come over here. I saw you bellied up to the food bar last night, eating some catering in a serious manner. The food here is unbelievable. The hospitality is unbelievable. It is such a wonderful place, and look forward to performing for everybody here tonight and having them show us why they are one of the greatest crowds in the world.
Well, we all look forward to a fun night. Yeah. Try not to work too hard.
Thanks, man.
Back to you guys on the panel.
That's just Zach's protein loading. That's all that is.
Yeah, I want to know what that meal was.
In terms of who's going to feast on potentially earning a championship, it's Io Sky and Liv Morgan. Remember, this comes your way. Queen of the Ring in the first hour of Night of Champions in 20 minutes on ESPN.
The following is the Queen of the Ring tournament.
Remember, if you win this, you get a title shot at SummerSlam.
Introducing first,
the genius of the sky, the best professional wrestler on the planet today.
I'd have to consider Io one of the favorites in the tournament. You can feel the momentum building. Watch Io over the moonsault. Night of Champions, the wait for Io Sky.
And her opponent,
the greatest women's world champion of all! champion. Women's world champion. Royal Rumble winner. And all I'm missing is my crown. So when I defeat you at Night of Champions, I make history by becoming the first ever women's world champion and Queen of the Ring winner.
You are arrogant. Are you sure that crown is gonna fit on that big head of yours?
Oh! Liv Morgan had heard about enough. And so is the genius of the sky, who will call their shot at SummerSlam. Who will be queen?
You know, on a card that has 6 matches that are so tough to call, so tough to get a handle, I think this could be the most evenly matched at all, considering where they are in their careers and how they've gotten to this final.
And I think Liv has a lot of momentum. If I just put these two in a ring, there's no Judgment Day, nothing else, I have to give the edge to Io. But Liv just has that mentality right now. She has that unbridled confidence. It's very hard to tell her, no, you can't win here at Night of Champions against Io Sky. And that could be the deciding factor.
Yeah, don't forget, you know, Liv is someone who it feels like has been doubted since the very beginning. Like, time and time again, people liked Liv Morgan, but is she going to become this star? And time again, she has shown who she is. Now, I think that's part of the reason, frankly, that she decided to jump into this tournament, even though she's already champion, because she is tired of the naysayers. She wins tonight. It proves a lot.
I'll never forget the moment. We had about 10,000 fans behind us in Italy. She joined us on the set when we revealed, and you could see that spark in her eye.
Yeah. She knew what this moment could be, because not only it provides 2 opportunities for her to cement the legacy, as you mentioned. First of all, win this thing. It's already a big deal to be Queen of the Ring and do it as champion, but then she gets the opportunity to hold both titles should she go on to SummerSlam and beat Rhea Ripley.
And if she does that, she would be the first double champion that the women's division has had in 7 years. We continue to close in on Night of Champions. Remember, 1 p.m. live right here on ESPN. The stakes are high. We are moments away from live action that will determine the matches at SummerSlam that'll have gold on the line, who our experts believe will earn that honor. Plus, 3 championship matches today, including the big one, Cody, Gunther, and Sami Zayn for the undisputed WWE Championship triple threat match, Night of Champions, today on ESPN.
Welcome, everyone, to the biggest event of the summer. We are getting carnage in SummerSlam. Here, when you talk to me, face. I am completely in shock right now.
Just over 10 minutes away from heading inside there to a sold-out Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The excitement building for Night of Champions. Of course, the undisputed WWE Championship triple threat on the line between Cody, Gunther, and Sami Zayn.
You're the golden boy, right?
Crossroads. Cody Rhodes retains the title.
Everything always comes up aces for Cody Rhodes.
I want justice for what happened to me at Clash in Italy. I intentionally put my foot underneath that rope, and when that foot is underneath there, that pinfall cannot be counted.
Maybe you need to realize that the biggest threat to your championship,
Cody didn't beat me. He cheated.
might just be looking you in the eyes.
Enough!
Gunther, you're right. If you want to do this, a rematch for the WWE Championship, let's do it! Both of you did me wrong!
Cody, I tried to help you. And how did you repay me? You stuck me with a crossroads from behind like a knife in my back.
Gunther from behind just shoved Cody into Sami, and now the sleeper's in. Sami Zayn is saving Cody Rhodes. Oh, and Gunther just shoved Sami into the crossfire.
Gunther, everything is set for your rematch with Cody next week. All we're waiting for now is stipulation.
I think what I need is a guy with the heart at the right place. Maybe the last real good guy. The referee for that match will be none other than Sami Zayn.
Crossroads is lined up. That was almost a carbon copy of Clash in Italy. Oh, here we go. Oh, God. Oh, no! Oh, he reaches for the rope. Oh, God. Powerbomb Sami.
That was the fastest count in the history of wrestling, Sami. What the hell were you thinking out there? I'm the official. I made the... Get out there. Get out there. Restart the match right now.
And we're back underway.
I didn't ask for any of this.
I am a good guy.
I've been screwed out of being WWE champ twice. I am tired of catering to them. There's only one solution. Night of Champions, triple threat.
At Night of Champions, I will finally defeat Cody Rhodes and win what's rightfully mine.
Because I stayed good, the universe has provided me this opportunity to redeem myself.
You can ride or die with the last real good guy.
I'm sorry that I have this, and that means you never will.
If you told me before May 31st, Clash in Italy, Sami's got a shot to win the title, I said, what are you even talking about? He's not even in the picture. If you told me before what you saw on SmackDown there on June 19th when he just blew up the world between Cody and Gunther, I would still have the same reaction. As this draws closer to the top of the hour, I don't know. Does Sami Zayn have a chance here?
I don't know. It's a great point because it's happened very quickly. But I just noticed last night, everyone kept wanting to say, Sami will never be world champion. You will never be world champion. And you could see Sami's face every single time. No one gets in this business to be second or third best. People may tell you, oh, I don't care. I'm just here to be a worker and contribute. Everyone wants to be to the top of the mountain. Sami wants to be there. He may never get a better shot than this.
This could be the last opportunity. And we've talked about Sami a lot, but let's talk about Gunther. Can we talk about Gunther and this man who has been a physical force in WWE for many years now? Gunther, we talk about the controversy in Italy. Your foot's under the rope, the pin doesn't count. There's no controversy. That should not have culminated in that way. And for Gunther not to get another singles opportunity at Night of Champions, but to now have to deal with the triple threat and Sami Zayn's involvement as well, he has to be irate at this point.
Oh, yeah, and to have to deal with a count from Sami Zayn that made Mike Tyson's count look slow. I mean, the fastest count in the history of refereeing.
We're under 7 minutes away from the King of the Ring. The Night of Champions, a reminder, is going to start on ESPN. Of course, the whole day, right through our post show, is available on the ESPN app. We encourage you to watch on the ESPN app. You don't have to change around and try to find it. And Obafemi and Jey Uso will get the day started with King of the Ring. There is Jey. Those final precious moments before he heads in to meet Obafemi. Jey Uso wins if
he is smart, if he is disciplined, if he doesn't worry about the distraction of the crowd, he has to be locked in against that physical specimen.
And there is Obafemi standing by as we get one final check-in with Byron Saxton. Sax.
Please welcome the savior of misbehavior, Corey Graves. What a different day.
Well, we apologize for the audio issues there, but you can hear the roar that's happening at Kingdom Arena. Remember, 18,000 plus. At the end of this day, when we're on the post show, what could be the big surprise today?
Ooh, the big surprise could be, in my mind, Obafemi's got this thing locked up. If Obafemi doesn't get it locked up, that
Jey
for
Uso
me,
upset.
Jey Uso upset is really that's a bit of a shocking moment for me.
3 championship fights. I pressed you the other day. You still hold to this? How many title changes?
I think we're going to see 2 titles change hands tonight. Don't ask me which one. I just have a hunch there's going to be madness. You mentioned Jey Uso winning being shocking, and I think the other one is Sami Zayn. If one of those guys wins, we are shocked on the post show later on.
In moments, 4 supremely skilled athletes will take the spotlight right here on ESPN. Sports entertainment has changed incredibly at a fast pace in the last 5 years. This already now the 17th premium live event from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Oba's gonna strut, Jey's gonna yeet. You're gonna understand why this crowd earns big moments like this. Then it's the Queen of the Ring. For the first time, it's Night of Champions, live on ESPN.
Prestige, honor, respect, glory. The tournament where icons are born. A launching pad to undeniable greatness. Win the King's Crown. Punch your ticket to the top of WWE.
I will run through every single man in this King of the Ring tournament.
Behold the ruler!
I will take my rightful place upon the throne as your new King of the Ring. Your ruler needs a crown, doesn't he? Since I was born, I've been backed by destiny. One match away, and then the ruler will have his crown.
I'ma shock the world, Uzi. That's what I do.
I need you to go win that King of the Ring. Go to SummerSlam and take the other one. There's 2 wins in the team.
I'm gonna Obafemi walk his ass right back to Nigeria, straight to SummerSlam. Check it out, Cody. When I see you, Uzi, I will be the new undisputed WWE champion. 4 letters. Worldwide. King.
Who will be crowned King of the Ring?
Over Night of Champions. This your water shot. Bah!
When you shoot, don't miss. Because if you do, I will destroy you. And if you don't, I'll still destroy you.
Today, returning to Kingdom Arena in Saudi Arabia. It's a night of glory, a night of greatness, a night of champions. Live from Kingdom Arena